Unlisted videos. Insider drops. The only way in is through my private SMS list.
American embassy staff are fleeing Israel and Iran as kamikaze drones line up for deployment. The USS Gerald Ford has arrived off Israel's coast, while the Abraham Lincoln loads munitions just 500 miles from Iranian waters. Russia leaked our war plans to Tehran, and now both the U.S. and the U.K. are ordering emergency evacuation. So what does Trump know that we don't? You see, your family members serving overseas could be in immediate danger right now. Military families are watching helplessly as two carrier strike groups position for what could be the largest Middle East conflict in decades. Every American needs to understand what's happening, because this is not just about foreign policy. This is about whether we're about to send your sons and daughters into harm's way. Now, Trump inherited Biden's Middle East mess, but now he's making the hard decision to protect American lives. The economic implications are staggering as well. Oil prices could skyrocket overnight, hitting your wallet at the gas pump and the grocery store. And speaking of protecting the people that we love, I do need to share something personal that connects to what we are discussing. Because for years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety, endless doctor's visits, treatments that failed. Watching her suffer daily while I felt helpless. Just like our government failed our people overseas, the medical establishment failed us at home. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy, and everything changed. Her pain vanished, anxiety lifted. She became herself again. When institutions fail us, we find our own solutions. Red light therapy uses specific wavelengths to heal at the cellular level, reducing inflammation and pain naturally. While our leaders navigate international crises, we can take control of our health and protect our families right here at home. Don't wait for someone else to save you. That's real solutions for real people, just like Trump is providing real leadership when it matters most. So if you want to take advantage of the exclusive discounts just for Next News viewers, visit myredlight.com. You'll find a link below along with those promo codes. Now here's the twist that nobody's talking about. Russia didn't just leak our war plans to Iran by accident. This was calculated sabotage designed to undermine American military superiority. Putin sold Iran the exact weapons they need to counter our strategy, then handed them our playbook. Trump now faces an enemy that knows every move that we've planned to make. The evacuation orders prove our intelligence community believes the conflict is imminent. U.S. Embassy, breaking news. Key allied nations begin the evacuation of non-essential personnel. The U.S. Navy carrier U.S. Ford has just arrived in Israel. Feels like it's June of 2025. Stop the war. U.S. Gerald Ford aircraft set to arrive off the Israeli coast today. This is the breaking news about the evacuations and the deployment, but we need to look at the broader international response. The UK Foreign Office once again shared a travel alert for Iran, telling people to avoid visiting and reconsidering their stay. There's been no UK diplomatic presence in Iran since the UK embassy evacuated in the middle of January. UK ambassador and all embassy staff evacuated from Iran. Information on regional risks, and that due to security situation, UK staff have been temporarily withdrawn from Iran. The UK's diplomatic withdrawal in January shows the crisis has been building for weeks. Now other allies are following suit with their own emergency measures. U.S. Department of State is now beginning the evacuation of some government personnel and their family members from Israel on February 27th due to security risks. While the UK evacuated Iran, the U.S. is now pulling people from Israel, showing how the threat has shifted to America's key Middle East ally. The U.S. Department of State authorizing the evacuation of some staff from the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. New travel advisory urges all non-essential U.S. government personnel and their families to leave Israel immediately.
State Department is authorizing the evacuation of some staff from the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. A travel advisory was posted today stating they are advising all non-essential government personnel and their families to leave Israel.
One American News. Multiple sources now confirming State Department evacuation order, giving the official government response to whatever intelligence that they are seeing. A red flag over Jerusalem. BizWatch Nigeria posts the U.S. has ordered evacuation of some embassy staff. The red flag reference shows international observers are treating this as a severe escalation that could impact global markets. Trump Truth on X says the war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran is expected to begin within the next 48 hours. The U.S. has called on its citizens to leave Israel and Iran. The U.S. has called on its citizens to leave Israel today with the last flights. So this is 48 hours notice, adding urgency to the evacuation orders and sources suggesting this is not precautionary. Eric Doherty writes that the massive Trump armada is assembled right next to Iran as non-essential U.S. staff are being told to leave Israel right now. It should happen today. J.D. Vance said no intentions of a prolonged war with Iran. Prolonged war. Listen to the language.
Dots on the map. These are long-term U.S. military bases operating near Iran. You've got several here in the area of Kuwait. You got the Al Udeid Air Base, which is the largest in the entire region. That's in Qatar right here, some around the area of Oman. Heck, you can stretch back to western and southern Turkey as well and find them. All the white dots are the other bases that the U.S. has a military presence in, and you could see it here, right? In Qatar, eastern Saudi Arabia, up here in northern Iraq. So, I mean, the plate is well set now in terms of bases. Now let's talk about the naval buildup, and this has been quite the armada. Earlier today, we got word that the USS Gerald Ford had moved off the coast of Israel, and then the Roosevelt now is near Crete, the island of Crete in Greece. The Canberra and the Michael Murphy are now in the Persian Gulf. All right, they are positioned, as well as the Santa Barbara and the Mitch are now there in the Gulf of Oman. The president talked about having an armada, and that's what's been assembled here now, nearly surrounding Iran, well to the west and to the south, with Iran perhaps in its sights sometime soon. Jillian Turner is watching the movements of the U.S. Department of State, and she's got more from there now. Jillian?
Good morning to you, Bill. The U.S. Embassy in Israel now says that all non-essential staff, as well as their families, should leave the country if they are able to, if they want to, and it should happen today, Bill. This comes as tension between Washington and Tehran is now ratcheting up by the day. The vice president is going to welcome Oman's foreign minister to the White House shortly to further discuss Iran. This comes after Vance told the Washington Post overnight the Trump team has no intention of engaging in a prolonged war with Iran. The U.S. wrapped third round of nuclear negotiations yesterday in Geneva, a neutral territory. They spoke for many hours and were mediated by officials from Oman. Iran's foreign ministry says this. Take a listen.
Conflicting statements made by some American officials will continue to cast doubts and questions.
Iran says the talks are only focused on nuclear weapons, but the Secretary of State says that's just for right now.
Eventually, we'll have to have conversations about more than just the nuclear program.
Also on the U.S. agenda, Iran's ballistic missile program, its human rights abuses, and support for terrorists. As you mentioned, right now the Pentagon's deployed over a dozen warships and thousands of sailors to the region. 7 days ago now, at the inaugural Gaza Board of Peace meeting, President Trump started the clock.
Now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not.
So this is only the beginning. 48 hours notice. The word is getting out. The Trump Armada report connects to the naval buildup to the evacuation order showing military positioning alongside diplomatic withdrawals. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's State Department is authorizing the evacuation of non-emergency U.S. personnel. China also evacuating their people from Iran. So it's not just the United States. China also. UK evacuating embassy, pointing to mounting security risks. Mario Fall pointing that out today. That's according to the U.S. Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. China tells citizens to leave Iran now. Everything you're about to read happened in the last 24 hours. The USS Gerald Ford arrived off Israel. USS Abraham Lincoln conducting underway replenishment. 850 kilometers from Iran, loading munitions and fuel for sustained combat operations. Russia leaked America's war plan to Iran, then sold Iran the weapons to survive it. and almost nobody's talking about what it means when you read them together. New York Times and Politico report that on February 20th, Russian intelligence delivered a fully developed U.S. battle plan. Let's see if we can dig deeper into that one, because this is wild. Fully developed U.S. strike plan to Tehran, target matrices, launch platforms, timing sequences, the entire campaign architecture handed to the IRGC while Geneva talks were still being scheduled. The foundational advantage of every air campaign since Desert Storm Surprise was eliminated by Moscow with a single transmission. 6 weeks earlier, December 2025, Russia quietly signed a 500 million euro arms deal with Iran. Financial Times obtained the contract details: 500 Virba man-pad launchers, 2,500 advanced 9M336 missiles, the most significant air defense transfer to Iran since the S-300 negotiated through Rosenbahn-Export, specifically to rebuild what Midnight Hammer destroyed last June. One country told Iran exactly what America plans to hit. The same country sold Iran the weapons to defend against it. The deal was requested in July after Iran watched its air defenses get shredded. The leak arrived in February as the next campaign assembled. Whether coordinated by design or converged by logic, the effect is identical. Iran now knows what is coming and has the hardware to contest it. And add now China. Reuters confirming this week Beijing is nearing transfer of CM-302 supersonic anti-ship missiles to Iran. Oh my God. Supersonic anti-ship missiles. Mach 3, designed to kill the Aegis destroyers while simultaneously photographing every American base, every carrier departure, every F-22 on Israeli tarmac, and publishing annotated imagery on Weibo in Mandarin. Russia provides the intelligence and air defense. China provides the anti-ship missiles and real-time surveillance. Iran receives the strike plan, the weapons to contest the sky, and the missiles to threaten the fleet. No formal trilateral alliance, no treaty. Three powers independently ensuring an American strike costs the maximum possible. Why would Russia, with 2 million citizens in Israel, 15% of the population, and $3 billion in annual trade, arm the country sworn to destroy Israel? Putin answered this in 2025 in June. Israel is almost a Russian-speaking country. The leak targets America, not Israel. The Virba missiles shoot at American aircraft, not Israeli ones, degrade U.S. power projection without endangering the diaspora. Russia and China do not need Iran to win. They need America to spend. Every tomahawk fired at Isfahan is absent from Taiwan contingency. Pentagon insiders admitted 7 to 10 days of munitions. Moscow and Beijing are ensuring those days cost the maximum in precision stockpiles that take years to replenish. Iran is not being defended. Iran is being instrumented, armed enough to bleed, informed enough to prepare, equipped enough to threaten, not enough to win. The optimal outcome for Moscow and Beijing is a war America wins at a price it cannot afford to pay twice. Tomorrow, February 28th, Saturday, Oman's foreign minister meets Vice President Vance in Washington, carrying whatever Tehran authorized after Geneva's most intense session yet. Technical talks move to Vienna next week. The diplomatic clock is still running, but the intelligence damage is already done. Russia has already told Iran what is coming. China has already armed the fleet threat. The strike plan is compromised. The defenses are rebuilding. The anti-ship missiles are transferring. The question is no longer whether America can strike Iran. The question is whether a campaign the enemy has already read is still worth launching. That was written by Shanaka Ansalam Pereira, author of The Ascent Begins. Think about what's at stake here. Those hypersonic missiles can do horrific amounts of damage and take out those destroyers like that. There's really no defense against them. We've covered them here on the channel at length when they were first emerging technology. But to see them being transferred from China to Iran, when we're talking about war breaking out in 48 hours, is a terrifying prospect. And if it's in fact true that Russia did leak the entire war plan to Tehran, then we're basically sitting ducks. But is this the hook in the jaw that we talk about in the Bible? I don't know. But President Trump, and I'm sure his team, are well aware of this. Maybe this whole thing was a fake out. Maybe they allowed Russia to send them the war plan so that they would believe they knew the strategy. Maybe this is 4D chess on an international war game scale that we can never even comprehend. Let's just hope that calm heads prevail, that we don't have to get to that level. We don't have to see American servicemen die on those battleships with Mach 3 hypersonic missiles. The State Department authorizing departure of non-emergency U.S. personnel. So the departures are happening. Kamikaze drones are on the table. U.S. readies first one-way kamikaze drones as Iran talks end with no deal. It's happening. Here's President Trump on Iran.
He told you that if you use the military now, that there will be regime change right away?
No, nobody's told me that. You don't know. I mean, nobody knows that. There might be and there might not be. It'd be nice if we could do it without, but sometimes you have to do it with. When you looked at we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nothing close. I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have to.
I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have to. President Trump's own words reveal the administration is actively weighing military options while evacuations continue. It would be wonderful if they would negotiate in good faith.
There are risks that strikes could turn into a long, drawn-out conflict in the Middle East.
I guess you could say there's always a risk. You know, when there's war, there's a risk in anything, both good and bad. We've had tremendous luck with myself, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. Everything's worked out, and then we do the Midnight Hammer and so many others. Everything's worked out, and we want to keep it that way. But we're going to see. Look, it'd be wonderful if they'd negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience. But they are not getting there. So far, Peter, they're not getting there.
So this is where we stand on the cusp of a major military operation. This is Trump's Cuban Missile Crisis moment. He's staring down a nuclear-capable Iran that's been armed with Russian weapons and American secrets. The evacuation of embassy personnel isn't precautionary, it's preparation for war. And those kamikaze drones are not for show. They're locked and loaded for Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump has hours, not days, to make decisions that will reshape the Middle East forever, even the world. And here's what Trump understands that Biden never did. Strength prevents war, weakness invites it. And those carrier groups aren't there to start a fight, they're there to end one before it begins. Iran spent 4 years of Biden's weakness building nuclear capabilities, but now they face Trump's resolve. Every embassy evacuation, every drone deployment, every naval positioning sends the same message that America doesn't negotiate with terrorists, we defeat them. Trump inherited this crisis, but he's handling it exactly how America First leadership should. The deep state created this mess through decades of failed diplomacy, but Trump's decisive action protects American lives while showing our enemies that we mean business. So my question for you is, do you trust Trump to navigate this crisis better than Biden ever could? Comment below and check out the Next News merch shop to show your support for real leadership in dangerous times.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.